Hey guys, Cards here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a special episode. It is right this second, the morning of May the 2nd, Saturday, first Saturday in May. It should be Derby Day. And of course, we all know a lot of sporting events are being delayed right now, so I think the Derby's currently scheduled for sometime in September. But I woke up today wanting to do some racing, and so I'm going to bring you an introduction to the best racing GM type simulation on the market, Starters Order 7. It's an excellent game. As with all GM type games, they can be a little intimidating to get into, so I'm going to take care of that for you today. I'm going to show you how to get a game started, and then we're going to go over and take a look at a game that I already have in progress and show you some of the things that we can do. And I'm actually going to run one of my 3-year-olds in the Derby. So we will bring you your Derby in about 20-25 minutes. So this is the starting screen. You can see here, you can come in here, set up your game options. You can start a new game. This is where you're going to want to come. You can set some of the visual effects right over here depending on the specs of your computer. And then down here, some of this is more for multiplayer issues and editors, game website, Facebook, those sorts of things. But when you want to start a new game, you're going to come right here to this open door. And then on this screen, you can see this is the save that I already have. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to start a new game. We'll just start it down at the bottom. Now, a couple of things to look at. You can set up different race schedules based on different countries. So if you're in the United States and you want a United States schedule, you need to make sure that that's the flag that you have highlighted. These are going to give you typical races for the States. If you pick UK, you get like these 2 and 3 and 4 mile races, and you get like jumps over hurdles and things. I'm not used to any of that in my horse racing, so I don't play that way. But if that's the way that you like to race your horses, those things are available options to you in Starters Order 7. The other thing to look at is difficulty, and this is mostly just going to be starting difficulty. This isn't going to have any effect on how your horses perform in races. What this is going to do is affect the horses that you're given at the start of the game. Once you get rolling, difficulty is irrelevant. For the most part, I would tell you to just do it on easier unless you're just a glutton for punishment. This just depends on how long you want to grind before you have effective horses. And to me, there's no value in going harder. If you like it, those options are available to you. So let's go ahead and start a new game. So here's some of our different settings. This one here is a training owner game. You got both training and jockey options enabled. And the trainer owns the horses, obviously. Here it's just training, so you don't actually own the horses. Here it's just betting. And this is league mode. This is just for multiplayer. There's an extremely competitive multiplayer in this. So if you jump into this game and you start dominating right away and you find it to be too easy, try out this league mode. You will be beaten, I promise you. It's extremely competitive. The people have run these horses for decades, if not centuries, of breeding and training, and they're unbelievable. So this game is always going to be competitive one way or another. I always do the training owner game. The simple training model, there is a function in the game if you want to like rest your horses more, train your horses more right before a race to get them fit. You can do that. I've found with a smaller, with a handful of horses, if you have like 5 or 6 horses, I would turn this off and I would train them manually because I like the interaction there and the feeling that I'm the one getting them ready and I'm the one making those decisions. But once you get 20, 30, 100, 250, 500 horses, I find this to be tedious, so I turn the simple training model, I turn that on and let the game take care of that. One player, it's going to give our owner's name, our silks, our caps. We're alright with all of this, so we're going to go ahead and start a new game. Now this is giving you an option to include legendary horses. These aren't actual names of horses. As you can see here, the dark brown are the ones that are going to be not included, and the light brown are going to be included. So most of these legendary horses are from other countries. The only American horse here is Secretary, which, I assume is Secretariat. They probably just don't have the rights to the name. So Secretariat will be in the game, and then you can come down here and choose Legend Repeats. And Secretariat, he'll be bred into the game, and he'll, play out his career, and then when he goes away, he'll be bred back in again. And I like to enable that just because there are some feats in the game for defeating a legendary horse. And I can tell you, he's going to come in early, and in the first 2-3 years, you're not going to beat him, guaranteed. So if you ever want to beat a legendary horse, I'd recommend that you turn on the legendary repeats. So let's go ahead and get this started. Taking it a minute here just to get everything generated and going. And as you can see on the screen, building in all of these horses does take a minute. Once the game actually starts, you're done with long loading screens. Maybe in an off season, there's a little bit of a processing that needs to be done. But for the most part, once you get over this initial hump, you are good to go. And this is generating horses, not just your initial horses, but this is generating the horses, all of the horses in the game. All of the horses that the other trainers own, all of the horses that they're using to breed, everything. Alright, we're still here. We're just about loaded. You can just skip through that part if you'd like. So here we are. This is our day 1 in starters orders. Because I chose the easier difficulty, I start off with 5 horses. I think medium difficulty you only get 3 horses, and hard I'm not certain. You might only get 1 or 2. You can see here, this is flashing. I've got some mail, and it's telling me Secretariat has entered the game. And you'll get mail occasionally if you can highlight certain horses and request information on them, and you'll get it. Also, once you get your stud barn set up, if somebody wants to pay you a stud fee, you'll get an email about it here. The other thing it's telling me I don't have a farm name. I haven't done anything here. This little globe is blinking because I need to set this up. I'm setting up right now my stable location, and I can put this anywhere within the country that I want to. I'm from Louisville, and I'm playing this today to bring you the Derby. So we got Louisville, Kentucky, and Florence here, and these aren't exactly geographically correct. But I'm gonna put my stable right out here in the middle of all of them. And the main thing that this is going to affect is the distance from your farm to the race locations. And it's gonna really just affect the travel costs to get your horses to the races. I'm gonna go ahead and put my stable right there, and then we're gonna go in and check out our stable. You can see it's bare bones right now. Our staff level is medium, staff wages, feed quality, and then we don't have any of these upgrades purchased yet. We're gonna get there though. I'm gonna show you that. What we need to do is get in here and set us up a stable. And so for today, this is going to be GM Games Racing. Whoop. Alright. So we've got ourselves a name. Now, when you're starting a new game, what you're probably going to do is sell all of these starting horses. They're not good. As you can see here, I sort of jumped ahead there. You can click right on your horse's name. It's telling you the age. This little blue symbol is telling you that these are actually all male horses. If you have a female, it'll be the female symbol and it'll be pink. This is the career racing record of the horse, what it's won, its ratings, next scheduled races, The green status means that they are ready to race. The yellow means that they're not quite there yet. If you get red, that means they're definitely not ready. And then this is their form. This is, what they came in, the last race they ran. This is what place they came in, and then a little bit of a history. So we can click on the horse's name to see a little preview of their horse stats over here. The very, very most important one is this rating right here, which is potential. And you can see this horse has below 50 potential. This is absolutely a terrible horse. It doesn't matter what the rest of the stuff over here is. This horse will not work out. Now this blue box right there will bring you to this more detailed stats page, and it'll give you all these secondary stats which aren't available in the other view. And a lot of people, cruising burst and extra speed rating are definitely very important ratings. Some of these others, like consistency, if you want your horse to be running the same race every time, consistency helps. If that's a low consistency, they could run the same race twice and get drastically different results. Distance adaptability is obviously going to be, if you might have a 7 furlong horse, but if he's got great distance adaptability, maybe you can get him up to a mile or a mile and a furlong, or maybe you take him down to 6. With this horse, it needs to stay at whatever its best distance is. Going surface, this is dirt or grass or mud, those sorts of things. Juvenile constitution is how hard you can race them as a juvenile. And then there's another constitution stat in here somewhere right up at the top. Once they're mature, obviously the constitution's different. And the other thing I will say about these, this is a 5-year-old stallion, as you can see up here at the top. So these ratings are pretty much final. If I come over and check out my 2-year-old, I expect this potential rating to increase a little bit in a 2-year-old. You can see, if you look closely, there's a dark green bar and a light green bar. Dark green is what the horse already has. Light green is how high it can go right now. When this horse turns 3 and even 4, I expect this to increase a little bit. So I actually do have a mod in here for these bars. These bars are generally these little notches and grooves and whatnot are usually not here. It's usually just a blank white bar and a green one. I would recommend jumping over onto their forums and grabbing this mod so you can sort of eyeball this better. I can see having the mod, this is like a 60 potential, maybe 65 potential, 60 current, something like that. I think this notch right here is 75 and this one's 50, so it's right in the middle of that, 60, 65, somewhere in there. Still not a great horse. But I would expect it to go up a little bit. It might get up towards 75 as it gets to be a 4-year-old. That's still not going to be a great horse. You want something that's hitting the 90s, maybe the high 90s. So we can check through all of them. Whistleton Cross isn't bringing us anything. Okay, now Cadeau Pearl's okay, potential-wise. It has some speed and acceleration. It's not anything great though, and here's my initial thought. Our first thing to do is going to be to sell these horses, try to get a breeding barn, and try to sell some unraced yearlings or 2-year-olds, because you're going to get crazy money for them, even if they're not all that talented. So, Beauchamp, no. So, if Cadeau Pearl was a female horse, I would consider holding on to it. With it being a male horse, I'm just going to get rid of it, because my plan is to get a breeding barn and then try to buy as many dirt cheap female horses I possibly can and send them to the breeding barn. Once I've done that, then I'm going to start mating them with the absolute cheapest grade 1 winners I can find. And if I'm low on money, it doesn't even have to be a grade 1 winner. But usually you can breed with some pretty cheap grade 1 winners. Being early in the save, I'm not sure. Oh, yeah. So here are all of the game bred stallions that you can breed with. So if we scroll down, okay, so the cheapest grade 1s to breed with are going to be about $66,000. So it all depends on the kind of money you get from selling your horses. But if you can sell those horses, get your breeding barn, buy some mares, and then mate with these, I would definitely recommend that you breed with grade 1 winners when possible. But if you don't have that kind of money, you can come all the way down here. We got some grade 2 winners that you can breed with for $5,000. So that'll get you started. Once you get started on that, spend whatever money you have and breed as many horses as you can. And then you're going to be simulating the first 2 years to get yourself off the ground. And then you're just going to have millions to actually breed your stable and run it the way that you truly want to. So, just so you can see, when you want to sell these horses, there's a button right here that will send them to auction. So we're going to auction all of our horses. Alright, now here are the buttons that will advance the days. So you can go to watch, like, just because I don't have a horse racing, I can still go and watch the races today, and I can go and bet on the races today. And there are some people that just like to run this game just to bet on races. And I'll show you the forms and how you bet in a little bit when we get to the Derby with my horse. But just know it can be done right here with this button. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to skip today. I want to get my money for these horses. So they went to auction. I got $1.6, almost $1.7 million here. So let's go and check out my stable. You can see here the breeding barn costs, $275,000 roughly. So that's all you have to get. Now, once you get there, you want to check out sales. So under this sales tab, this is going to tell you right over here the dates of all the future sales. They're going to have weekly sales, 2-year-old sales, breeder sales where they're just going to sell breeding mares that have already been sent off to stud, yearling sales down here. So if you're coming into your second year and you've already bred some horses and you're putting some yearlings up for auction, you can see they're not going to be sold until March 1st. And then there's another one down here April 30th. And you can scroll down. There's a few throughout the year. Once you get going, know the dates of these breeder sales, because you can get some really good mares to breed with out of there. So we're going to skip. The next auction is the 7th. And you can see right here on the sales, that little yellow coin popped up next to it. That's going to tell you, and it's the same thing as the last screen. The brown coin is a yearling sale, the blue one is the mare sale. So you can click right here on the sales and you can see what's up for auction. And today it's just 2 male horses. We don't need any of that. So I just want to give you an example here, and then we're going to bounce over to the save where I've already done some of this. So we can come in here. These are the horses that are available for auction today on Friday the 14th. And you can see there's 5 mares in here. So we are going to go to the race course, but we're going to come up here to this button that says skip today's racing, and we are going, alright, well I messed that up. Let's try this again. Here are the sales. They are all females. Oh, start sale now. After the race, sometimes if you've done a claiming race, if there's claiming races run that day, you can get after race sales, and that's what I accidentally tried to show you. But if you just want to see these 4 horses, we can go down here and start this sale now. So this one, wow, that's $1 million horse. And you can see that's an unraced 3-year-old. So when you start having unraced 2-year-olds, you're going to start getting crazy money. And you can't even click on this horse to see what they look like. So we're not going to bid on that. We will. Now, I would bid on this one. I'm just looking for cheap horses to breed. And we can go ahead and bid on this one as well. And then we can start our sale. Alright, the reserve on West Humble's 82.5. So we want to run that up until we get over 82.5, because it was telling me reserve not yet met. Now I've met the reserve. And you can see nobody else is going to bid at this price for this horse. I probably wouldn't ordinarily. I'm just kind of giving you an example. The Giving Tree, no sale because we didn't choose to bid on it, so it's not going to waste our time watching the AI bid for horses. And then we're going to go ahead and buy Clooney. Alright, so now we can quit the auction. And here are the 2 horses that we just purchased. Now we purchased these horses because we are going to breed with them. So you come in and you tell it you're going to retire the horse to stud. And we're also going to retire Clooney to stud. Alright, so now we have 2 mares in our breeding barn, which we purchased for $275. You can come over here. Here are our breeding mares, and here are all the in-game stallions you can breed with. So, let's see, what are these top ones? What I will tell you, when you're looking for stallions to breed with, if you have the money, look at their group wins. You can look at their career record and group wins. You know, sometimes people just think you get what you pay for, and you usually do, because you can see here the most expensive horse to breed with is 7 Group 1 wins and 3 Group 2 wins, 10 and 17 for the career. You know, won $8 million, 123 rating. This probably is the best horse, but it's not always the case, so don't jump straight to that. Pay attention to your group wins. You know, for the purposes of this, if I were running it, I would just breed to these cheap Group 1 winners. So to choose which horses are breeding, you select this little red S. So if I want Clooney to breed with Jedier, I'll click those 2 buttons. They have the red S's highlighted. I'll confirm that. You can repeat unsuccessful pairings. Sometimes they'll mate for a week, and sometimes the mare, you know, won't get pregnant. So if you want to repeat unsuccessful pairings, you can do so right here. Just be aware that if you do that, you know, you might be paying this $62,000, whatever the stud fee is. You might have to pay that again. Okay, so it's not as important right now when I'm paying $62,000 and I have $1.3 million. But if I were, you know, breeding with this horse that's almost $700,000 a pop, you know, 2 of those would bankrupt me. So that's the only thing to be aware of there. I'm going to go ahead and confirm that. West Humble can breed with, what was that, justbookie.com. We can confirm both of those, and then you can skip ahead. You know, I'm still, this is the same skip. I can still go in here and get a sale. I can still back out, look at my main menu, but I'm skipping here because I want to be looking at my horse's breeding. So we're going through here. The breeding status is with Jahir, with justbookie.com. Keep skipping. Like I said, it takes a week, and now they're both in full. So we don't have to pay extra to breed them again. Both of these horses are in full, and all of the births take place in the off season. So at this point, you know what you should be doing if you're in a new game, going and finding more cheap mares and breeding them with cheaper studs and stallions, because you want to have as many yearlings as possible and as many 2-year-olds as possible so that you can sell them. You're almost always going to get at least $200,000 for these. You know, sometimes you get $1 million or more. You make all of your money through breeding. So what you're probably going to be doing for your first 2 years, if you're following this guide, is just breeding and then getting ready to sell. Now eventually you'll be just fine on your money. That's when those breeding mare sales are really going to come into play, because you can get excellent mares instead of these hags that I've been buying for $5,000. You know, you can pay $2 or $3 million to get a really top-notch breeding mare, and then you can send her to stud with, you know, the absolute top-of-the-line game-bred stallions. And then eventually you're going to bring in your own male horses that are very good, and you can go ahead, get into here and get your stud barn, your stud facilities right here. That costs almost $1 million. But eventually you can have your own studs covering up your mares. So, you know, that's the long-term goal there. But this is just a little guide of how you get started. So I don't know if y'all ever watch, have you ever seen those cooking shows where they're like, they show you the recipe and then they pull the already finished one out of the oven? That's what we're going to do here. This is a game where I've already been doing this. So I'm going to load it up. And now this game, this is in 2028, so you know it's only 5 or 6 years in, and this isn't anything where I've like imported, exported horses across saves. You know, these horses are much better than the starting horses you saw on the other save, but they're still not excellent. None of these are winning a Triple Crown. Collect Art's the only 3-year-old that I saved from my last batch of 3-year-olds. So that's who we're going to be running in the Derby. But you can see here, now check out that potential bar and the difference from what you saw on those horses that we got assigned in the last game. We're decent across the board here, speed, stamina, and acceleration. Now the 2-year-olds, you're seeing the potential still in the same place, and that's still going to increase. So, and most of these stats are still going to increase a little bit. A 2-year-old has not fully developed. So you can just get an idea, this isn't quite as good of a horse, but you can get an idea of what I've been breeding to, and what you should be seeing once you're set up and moving a little bit. I'm not deep into this, I've just started it, but this is sort of, these aren't bad for the point of the game that I'm at. They're not great horses. Every one of these horses would absolutely get destroyed in the online multiplayer league, but these are horses that can maybe start making me a little bit of money. Maybe they have a quality or two that I can put into my barns and breed some future generations of horses with. So we've got these horses. Now we want to race them. And you can see here, I'm only actually on January 2nd. So ordinarily, I would do a lot of racing beforehand. But I do want to show you the race mechanics because they're really fun. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this 3-year-old and we're going to drop him straight in. Oh, can we drop him in the Kentucky Derby yet? Not just yet. It's only going to get so far ahead. So the best way to skip time in this game is skip next, and it's going to take you to the day before your next horse is due to run. And I've already actually got these horses due to run a couple of races. So what we're going to do, skip next. When I was last playing this save, I wasn't intending to use it for the purposes of this video. That's why it's not set up exactly perfectly. So I just skipped over those races for now. And you can see Wendell came in 6th, not a great race. Collect Art didn't do great. But what we're going to do now is try to skip further ahead. So when you want to put your horse into a race, right over here, this button right here, all the way on the right hand side of the screen is how you do that. So if I click there, oh, all right, well, let's see. Some of the things to look at. Miss Margaret, okay, the breeding indicator says she can go about 6 furlongs. Her stamina isn't great, so 6 furlongs, especially as a 2-year-old, is probably what I'm going to look for, if not 5 furlongs. She's never raced before, so I'm going to see if I can't get her into a maiden race. And you can see here the list of 5 and 6 furlongs. Most maiden races are going to be 5 or 6. What I'm doing is scrolling down to the bottom because I want the date furthest out so that I can just hit skip next and get to that Derby as soon as we can. Because today's Derby day, right? So we're going to put her in this 5 furlong for fillies and mares. We're going to enter the horse into the race, and then we can choose what jockey we would like to put on her for the race. So I'm going to choose Dominguez here and book him. All right, and now, I set up the simple training, so the game's going to make sure that this horse is ready when we get there. So all I have to do is skip to the next. It's going to get me to the day before. Oh, and you can see here this little S. T. Martin here has some type of injury or illness. But we're not going to worry about that for the purposes of this video. What we're going to do today is the 16th. We're going to go ahead and skip forward to the 17th. Now, Miss Margate is running today in her maiden race. So we're going to go to the race course, and it shows you here, the first race is a 1 mile handicap. This is not our race. We can still bet the race. If you want to bet the race, we can go up here and say we're going to bet on Cool Barranca. And let's bet $5,000 to win. And so you can bet like that. You can also just do max to win, max to show. So you could go and watch that if you want to. I don't care to. I apparently did not win. When we get to the race where our horse is, the horse's name will be in pink right here. So we can skip through these. And here we go. Here's Miss Margate's race. 50 to 1, not looking great. But sometimes, especially with unraced 2-year-olds, these odds can be a little bit wonky. So now we're going to go to the race. If you want, you can also choose this button right here where you'll go in and you'll control the jockey to actually ride the race. I prefer to just go to the race and watch. Alright, so kind of like anytime you're at a horse track, you're going to see how long is the race, what's the type, what are they running on, and then it's going to give you the horses in the race, who's riding them, who owns them, and their odds in the race. You can hit the space bar to skip that key, and now you should be able to hear the announcer in the background, but that's actually not one of my favorite parts. The commentary in their older games was much better, but it is what it is. You'll get used to it. This is the pace normally, but you can also hit the tab key to speed this up, which is what I'm going to do now.
Inside the final 4 furlongs.
You can see up here, Miss Margate is the 11. She should be one of these top 3. I think she's on the inside rail, right here. That's our horse. You can see she was 50 to 1, and she's running all right. She was pretty close to the front. So, normally I don't hold a horse's first race against him or her. That was acceptable. So when you come out, you can see the form book. You can see how it finished. You can go into the form book, see how much each of the horses won, get a little bit of information on how they ran their race. Here, Miss Margate, front rank early, led just after halfway and then faded. It'll tell you how many lengths you were behind. You can also go ahead and close this screen and you'll get a little bit of feedback from your jockey. So she was ridden in the pack, it suited, got the distance well. So that's pretty much telling you didn't put her in a bad race. She just didn't win. It wasn't her day. It was her very first race in her life. So now you can come out here. You can watch the rest of the races throughout the day if you like. I am just going to, and you can skip race by race. I'm just going to skip all of today's racing. I don't have any other horses going today, so we're skipping through it. And now you can see here is a horse that must have been in a claiming race. So if we want to do a bid now after the racing's finished, we can take a bid on an otherwise kid. I do not want to do that. What I would like to do, we're on Friday, February the 18th. So we'll put these horses in a couple of more maidens, just to skip ahead. I'm not even going to worry about who the jockey is right now. We're just trying to skip ahead so we can watch a derby. We got to get a derby in today. It's the first Saturday in May. I want to see the Kentucky Derby. Skip it. All right, what do we got to be close now, right? You can change the race type up here. Juvenile races, handicaps. We're going to look for feature races. I think we can. Let's look at group races just to be sure. I'm relatively certain that the Derby's got to be a feature race, but we wouldn't be looking at. We can't quite get to May. All right, so let's not book the 3-year-old. Let's let Wendell run. Wendell actually looked like a pretty good horse, and we'll put Wendell in this maiden. It's only 5 instead of 12 horses, so maybe a better chance to win there. Now, I might pay a little bit of a penalty for putting the horse into this race late. If you're doing the manual training, you definitely want to make sure you book the races a little bit ahead of time. And there's the Kentucky Derby, and you can see that's what I was talking about, declaration penalty cutoff. There'll be a little penalty here for declaring late, but we are going to put Collect Art into the Kentucky Derby. Pete Dominguez is going to ride. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to skip. See what Wendell does. Wendell got 5th, so looked okay, but we're not having great results so far. I don't know why, but not the reason we came. Here is our Kentucky Derby. Let's go check this out. So here's our Woodford Reserve Turf Classic. We're obviously not in that, but I've run a lot of horses in there. Time for your main event. First Saturday in May. Here we are at the Kentucky Derby. 1 mile and 2 furlongs. The favorite is Line of Duty. River Bell is also 5-1. Styleaf? There is a horse that is 6-1. Rowdy Rampage, Llewellyn. So you can see the top horses here. Collect Art, very long odds. As I already explained, I'm fairly early in this save. I don't have great horses yet. This is probably a horse. If it were not for me making this video, I would not have put this horse in the Derby. But we got to give it a go, right? Long odds come in sometimes. If I win this, I'm going to go nuts, and y'all are going to have a great time. So let's go to the race. Let's check this out. You're looking for the Derby today, and here it is. We're going to skip this because you've already seen the names of the horses and who's available and all that good stuff. So let's just sit back and enjoy.
For the Group 1 Kentucky Derby. And they're off. Wind mild, you cleared wild. Blue in her face is driven into the early lead. Brittabel is pulling hard in the rear. King's Maiden takes up the running from Raise and Ace. Emerson Breeze is pushed into an early lead from King's Maiden. The pace appears to be strong and the field well strung out.
You can hear there that commentary audio is a little choppy, and that is one of the downsides of this game, especially as opposed to their prior versions. Starters Order 6, I felt the audio was much better.
And then Raise and Ace got back to Lannabelle, and then Line of Duty, and then King's Maiden. Ride Retto is buried in the chasing pack about 8 lengths off the pace.
I have no idea why they chose to include the announcer clearing his throat in the audio files, but that was the game, not myself.
Inside the final 6 furlongs. Lunarface is the leader from Emerson. Breeze just clear of Raise and Ace, just clear of Lannabelle, the gap back to Line of Duty, back to Collect Dark. Next is Llewellyn, the gap back to draw back from Riverbell. Racing left-handed. Riverbell is racing mid-division about 5 lengths off the pace.
Collect Art's hanging around at the front, but I expect here at about 3 furlongs, these horses are really going to kick it in, and Collect Art is going to fade quickly. You see him start to move.
Through the pack. Inside the final 3 furlongs. Royal Premier is making headway on the outside in 7th position. Lannabelle takes a fractional advantage. Lannabelle just leads from Royal Premier. Inside the final 2 furlongs. Royal Premier is running on. Rowdy Rampage now leads. Rowdy Rampage is 1 length ahead of Lannabelle. Inside the final furlong, Style Leaf runs on late. Style Leaf.
Rowdy Rampage takes it. River Bell placed, and I didn't quite see who showed there. But guys, there is your 2020 Kentucky Derby. Rowdy Rampage. 11-1, and the horse we couldn't pronounce showed. Llewellyn came in 4th. So there you have it. The commentary, like I said, it leaves something to be desired. I do feel like their prior games were better at that aspect, but everything else, if you want horse racing, you want horse breeding, you want to manage a stable, you want history. This game has excellent history. You can see the breeding history on these horses for generations. You can look at a horse that raced for 9 or 10 years, and you can go back and see how they finished in every race. You can pull the form from every race. So if you're a horse racing person and you can get away from the commentary, which is the only downside that I find in this game, Starters Orders is amazing. And there's a little bit of a, if you want to call it a little bit gamey there at the beginning when you want to go and sell your horses and breed to get money, maybe it is, but you definitely need to do it to get rolling. But once you get rolling, you're breeding the top horses in the game to your top mares. You can see how all these horses ran. If you want to only breed with Derby winners, you can find them. If you only want to breed with Triple Crown winners, you can find them. You can do anything you want horse racing wise in this game. It's an excellent simulation. If you're into horse racing and into simulation type games, I can't recommend Starters Order 7 enough. It's one of the absolute best horse racing sims on the market, if not the best. So check it out. We're not going to get we're not going to get any real horse racing anytime soon. I know the Churchill Downs is shut down for the foreseeable future. So this is where it's at, you know. We brought you your only Derby of the day, the only one that you're going to get in May this year. Hopefully we get the real one in September, but we'll see about that. But guys, I hope you enjoyed your Derby day. You know, if you're dying to bet on some horses, jump into starters orders. It's just as fun for me to be betting in here as it is to be betting in real life, and then my wife doesn't get mad at me for losing money in starters orders. So you know, this is win-win. It checks all the boxes. I'd highly recommend this game. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me either on YouTube, on the GM Games forums, on the GM Games Reddit. I'll be around. I've played this game. I've got a couple of versions of it, so I've played it for a while. There are definitely people that know more, but I can probably help you out with whatever you're looking for. So reach out. Make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the video so that you get all the latest from GM Games. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.